Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is a cool one today. We got Keith Buckley, formerly of Every Time I Die, currently of Many Eyes, and Daryl Taberski from Snapcase. The Buffalo Boys are here on the podcast today. It's a great show. I know you're going to enjoy it, and make sure you go check them out this Saturday, February 8th in Buffalo at the Town Ballroom. So get your tickets. And if you'd be so kind, if you like what you hear today, like, subscribe, hit the bell, leave a 5-star review on iTunes. And we'll be asking you a couple questions during the episode as well. Make sure you leave a comment or you hit us up at jastashow@gmail.com. But today's episode is brought to you by Unbeaten Records. Check out the band Cell. They just finished their full-length record for Unbeaten. That's going to be coming out later this year. Head on over to unbeaten.merchnow.com and pick up all things Cell. They got merch, vinyl, CDs. And you'll save 15% when you use the code Unbeaten15 on the entire Unbeaten Records store. They got some new signings too, like Blood Tithe from Boston and Bruiserweight from Montreal. But you'll see all the bands over there. Check out Pure Bliss. Check out Edict. Big thank you to Unbeaten Records. Use the code Unbeaten15 over at unbeaten.merchnow.com. Of course, make sure you check out the new Many Eyes release, the latest release, The Light Age. We got vinyl, we got CDs signed by the guys, we got merch, and they got this awesome show with Snapcase this Saturday. Head on over to martyrstore.net and then make sure you check them out on tour. All of February, or the rest of February, March, and a little bit of April. It'll be Amity Affliction, Hail the Sun, Many Eyes, and more. Get your tickets now. Also, thank you to indiemerchstore.com. Big thanks to the great indiemerchstore.com. Use the promo code JASTA10 and you will save on all things indie merch. And of course, I got to thank Blast Beat Vinyl. That's right. Blast Beats Vinyl got you covered for all your vinyl needs. And I saw they just posted about that Lamb of God vinyl. 100 pieces, like nice colored vinyl. Use the code JASTA10 and you'll save over at blastbeatsvinyl.com. Link is always in the show notes with the code as well. Man, there's so much stuff over there I would get right now. This bolt thrower vinyl. God, they got some good stuff over at blastbeatsvinyl.com. Use the promo code JASTA10. Tell them Jasta sent you. And thank you to Upstate New York Records. Head on over to upstaterecordsny.com after the show today. Check out Concrete. Check out all their bands. You'll save 10% when you use the promo code JASTA10. That'll get you 10% off the entire web store. They have releases from Brick by Brick, Blood Clot, Chained, Concrete Ties, Concrete, Freya, Furia 5, and many others. UpstateRecordsNY.com. Use the promo code JASTA10. Don't forget, we are announcing new bands for the next 10 days for the 2025 edition of the Milwaukee Metal Fest. That's right, we got Down, we got Black Label Society, we got thrash out the ass, we got death metal, we got Devin Townsend, we got Deceased, I could go on and on. Exodus with Rob Dukes back in the band, and we just added Of Sulfur, just added Revocation. Go listen to the new Revocation with Travis from Cattle Decap on the track. This shit is hard. But yeah, come see all these awesome bands at Milwaukee Metal Fest. Get your tickets now at therave.com/metalfest. All right, let's chat with Keith Buckley from Many Eyes and Daryl Taberski from Snapcase. Now on to the show.
My friend, the lead singer of Hatebreed, the infamous and notorious Jamey Jasta is in the building. That's what's up.
Jamey Jasta from the metal band Hatebreed. That guy's famous.
Coffee, death metal, and push-ups.
That's Jamey Jasta. Remember Jamey Jasta? You know him. He's a podcaster, but he's a metal man.
I would say delete that.
That shit is hard.
Your host, Jamey Jasta of Hatebreed.
Bob's or
Dinosaur barbecue.
is it Dinosaur? Dino from Fear Factory prefers Dinosaur. I remember I went with him and we opened.
Well, he would have to. It's in his name. It's like,
yeah,
it's his namesake. He's named after Dinosaur Barbecue. That's what people don't know about Dino. It's short for dinosaur barbecue.
Exactly. Actually, Dimebag called him Dino. That was his nickname. Dino. So let's shout out everybody from Patreon here. We got Daryl from Snapcase in the house. We got Keith Buckley from Many Eyes in the house. And we got a bunch of patrons here. We got Dominique Zimmer. What's up? We got Mike Horgan, Jonathan Metis, Connor Angelkovic, Chris Larice, Andy Wilson, Jared DeWeese, Kimo Humalamaki. How's that for
That was good.
Scandinavian pronunciation? Who else we got here? Well, anybody at Chris Larice, Nashville's in the house, Sam Angeli, Dallas Bolin, anybody else I forgot, I'll get on the next one. But the big show is this Saturday, February 8th. So we're going to get this right out to the public. Go to the town ballroom to get your tickets, Snapcase, Many Eyes, and more. It's going to be a good time. And at one point, I was the house. We were the house band at the town ballroom.
Yeah.
And I love that place, and it's a lot of fun.
The house band. Yeah, your legacy lives on. You guys are still a big part of everything that happens at town ballroom.
It got to the point where it was like the law of diminishing returns. We're like, really? We're going to play the town ballroom again?
Yeah.
But the people are great. It's awesome.
It's, you know why? Because it's old mafia energy. Like that place was huge for the mafia. So all that aggression is still there. And it's great it's great for a show.
It is. And Daryl, I know you from way back in the day, going to the Icon, going to see Snapcase at the show place. What are these people still running these venues, or is this like the new generation of promoters?
No, so the town ballroom has two owners that are also the promoters, and they've been doing it forever. Donnie Kutchoff's an old friend, and Donnie Cutsback's an old friend, and Artie Kutchoff. He booked all the early metal shows in Buffalo. He put Snapcase on shows with Cannibal Corpse like early on. Like he's the guy.
Yeah, shout out to Artie. Shout out to Donnie. Yeah, Artie booked us in Rochester too, right? Because he was booking shows.
Yeah.
At the Water Street, another staple.
Yeah.
Water Street Music Hall.
Now, remember Extreme Wheels?
Oh shit! Was that with the place we burned alive upstairs? And it was like, if there's a fire, no one's getting out of here.
I think so. No, I don't know. That was the Icon, maybe, because that had a very claustrophobic, like trapped feeling too. But Extreme Wheels was like an old warehouse. It was like a skate, I don't know, like a skate area turned into like a venue, I guess. But there was like no heating. It was very DIY. I thought you guys had played there a bunch. I don't know if Snapcase ever did.
I don't know if we did. I know, Jamey, we had Jasta 14 on a show at the Icon. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think Daryl, I think Snapcase should get more credit for the hardcore death metal crossover. You guys and Earth Crisis and No Joke and some of those older bands from the Rochester, Syracuse, New York area, because like you said, you're playing with Cannibal Corpse, and that was a normal thing to book hardcore and death metal. At what point do you think it got divided? Because we tried to bring it back hard with the shows at the Roxy and the Sports Palace and some of the shows that you guys obviously played when I booked you for the Fun House in New Haven and some of those wacky venues.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first started going to underground shows, we would go, see Cannibal Corpse one week, and we go see Agnostic Front or Sick of All or Slapshot the next week, and then maybe Carcass and like stuff like that. There were a lot of great shows. Death, I remember Death playing like kind of like a hardcore type show in Buffalo, and the guys from Cannibal Corpse, especially I think the bass player Alex, he used to come to all the hardcore shows. He used to be at like Youth of Today, and Zero Tolerance honestly was the band that from Buffalo really kind of brought in the metal and tied that together with hardcore. I wouldn't say we can't take credit for that. Those guys were definitely the ones.
Shout out to ZT. Yeah, what was your interaction with Chris Barnes? Because everybody has a Barnes story.
I got the funniest Chris Barnes story, okay?
Yeah.
So my mother was a nurse, okay? And she worked at a doctor's office, and she came home one day from work and she said, hey, I met this really nice lady in the doctor's office today. Her son is the singer of this band Cannibal Corpse. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, Mrs. Barnes. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. She's like, oh, we talked a whole lot about, Snapcase and Cannibal Corpse and you boys touring and all the things you do, and you're screaming. And I thought that was hilarious. So my mother actually had a connection with Chris Barnes more than I did.
Amazing.
Super funny, yeah.
Thank God you didn't say, Mom, don't. This is pre-Google, right? So she couldn't Google like the song titles or anything.
She wanted to know what Cannibal Corpse is all about, and I said, we're not going to talk about that.
What if she was like, I really like that one Hammer Smashed Face. That one really has that groove is just hitting. So you bring up a good point about zero tolerance. And I remember I like literally writing those guys snail mail. I don't know if they ever wrote me back. I definitely ordered the 7-inch and the one of the demo tapes, or maybe I traded one of the demo tapes with somebody from up around your way. And it was around the time that Agnostic Front was touring, I think, with Obituary and Malevolent Creation. So they get a lot of credit for the hardcore death metal crossover as well. But they did say on that tour, and I think it was Freddie who ended up filling in for Roger on a bunch of those shows. They did say it was a lot of fights. Was that how it was in the Buffalo scene when those styles would mix?
I don't think so, honestly. We had that, I don't know, Keith, if you were around for this, but there was a show called The Theater of Death. And I'm trying to remember who played that. We'll have to look that up, Jamey. But that was like a really killer Buffalo show that was like totally hardcore and metal. And then there was that tour with Sick of It All, I think Sepultura. Oh, was Napalm?
Yeah, New Titans on the Block.
Yeah,
wow.
And that was another, like, that was a huge, that's one of the biggest wall of deaths I've ever like experienced, at least. I mean, you've probably seen way bigger ones, but for me, that was in Buffalo, was in actually at Lackawanna.
Yeah, and so both of these tours that we talked about spawned bands, right? Because Agnostic Front pretty much started Madball when Freddie filled in for Roger on that tour, and then Toby was a roadie for Sick of It All on that tour, right? And that was kind of how he met Napalm Death and Sepultura and got really ingratiated with the scene. And that was one of the bands that I saw with Snapcase like a bunch of times. So I think people don't realize how connected it was. Like the new kids get into it, and if they go and gravitate to a real elitist type of subgenre, they don't realize that everybody was playing together and it was more unified at certain periods, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about that all the time when I talk about Buffalo, and the classic Buffalo hardcore club was the River Rock Cafe. And I've talked about the shows there. And the first person that comes to my mind is Vogel. So Scott Vogel was like in every mosh pit, every sing along at the River Rock Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
But Garrett from Texas is the Reason was too. Alex from Cannibal Corpse, the Goo Goo Dolls, even Mike Ski from Brothers Keeper would come from Erie. Some of the Cleveland guys would be there. Like, to think back, like, to who was Dennis from Earth Crisis, because he's a Buffalo guy. All these guys were like here in Buffalo, and this probably held like 300 people tops, and all the bands that I think that came out of there, it's like insane. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and then people networked and got shows in Cleveland. That was like you were saying, when you brought us up, when you brought Jasta 14 up there, that was amazing for us because it was always known Buffalo was a super strong scene, and it was hard to get shows in New York City, hard to get shows in Boston. I mean, we did eventually, but you find, I think, especially in the late 80s, early 90s, and mid 90s, those other cities in New York, even like Middletown, New York, and Albany and Rochester and Syracuse, for whatever reason, it was like a hotbed for everything from thrash to hardcore to punk to death metal, especially. But did you see, like, when thrash was kind of not becoming passe, but death metal started to become popular, and I think thrash took a little dip then. Did you see it change when everybody moved to Florida, or when a lot of those guys moved to Florida? Because I feel like the mid 90s was more about, Snapcase, Earth Crisis, like you said, Mike Ski's brother's keeper. Shout out to Mike Ski. And when did you see that sort of sea change?
I don't know. That's interesting. Probably right, like what you said, when Cannibal Corpse moved to Florida, and Florida was becoming kind of like the death metal hotbed. But then again, I think all of the hardcore bands were becoming more metal to kind of like replace that and kind of, carry that on. And like you said, the crossover, like the stuff like DRI, that was already being kind of like phased out, although I love DRI, but yeah.
Yeah, but DRI, they would play Ithaca, they would play Poughkeepsie, they would play, like, if a promoter moved on, or if a scene moved on, the bands would find new places to pop up, and it was cool to see how there was a staying power there, where maybe in New Haven or Hartford you couldn't get a big crowd for a certain type of subgenre, but if you put it at Bristol at the skate park, or Brewster, New York at the skate, then the kids come out. But I wonder, did you guys look at Cannibal as like, you're selling out the winter, you're selling out, for the weather? Like, what was it a letdown that they traded their boots for flip-flops?
I don't know. I mean, I did think that was a little bit lame. I felt like they belonged up here, but I think it was a good move for them. There were other cool bands. There was another band, shout out to a band called Baphomet, which was from Buffalo, and they were maybe more of a grindcore band, but they were really cool too, and we were tight with them. Buffalo's had a really solid scene, and does now. And I mean, I know we're talking about a lot of old stuff. We want to get to some new stuff, but I don't know if Keith knows this, but like, I know Jamey initially from he would book killer shows for Snapcase at the Tune In Connecticut.
Yeah. Jamey, I mean, I feel like this is just like apocrypha for me from Buffalo hardcore, like, because I only know when I got involved, and when I got in, it was like 1993, and all the shows were happening at Kenzie's. I don't know if you remember Kenzie's, like that in Lockport, so anything like the anything prior to that I missed out on. But I mean, I felt its influence everywhere. I mean, just from knowing Vogel, and how much he loved like Zero Tolerance and like Leeway, and all that shit that I never would have ever found, except these people had brought out of their warehouses such like amazing stuff that I was kind of digging through as I met people. So Jamey was just a part of that. And I mean, Snapcase was obviously like extremely detrimental in that, and Hatebreed was too. It was just like the two things that I really identified with at that time, for some reason, were just like heavy music, and I don't know, like rebellion, I guess. And I don't even know where that whole thing came from, but Buffalo just had such a good sense of it. Everyone in Buffalo was just angry and rebelling against something all the fucking time. It just felt like every single show you went to, there was a new cause. And I was like, this is awesome. Everyone's fighting for something. It's fucking great. And then I get older, and I realize like the history that Buffalo has of, political activism, and it's all starting to make sense to me now. So hearing these old stories and knowing where everybody came from is just so fascinating to me. So I'm just listening as a fan.
Yeah, the evolution is really cool, because there's bands that I think are sort of not, I guess, forgotten in history, like Vogel's band Slugfest, or like Envy and Half Mass, and all those bands. Like, that was big in the tape trading days, and that was cool when Snapcase would come down. People would follow Snapcase from Western Mass, from Albany, and that was exciting for us to see, because it was like, yeah, you got some new blood, you meet some new people, you network, and then you find out, okay, yeah, you can play. Like, we started playing in Port Chester, and we started playing in Ithaca was another one where you thought, who the hell is going to Ithaca? And then the show was packed.
We never played Ithaca.
What about Binghamton?
Binghamton, yeah. Did you ever play Utica? We played
Yes.
the beer factory at Utica like a few years ago. It was fascinating. Yeah. But another thing that Buffalo had that a lot of cities along the Erie Canal, where hot spots for hardcore really were, between New York and Buffalo, like you said, just kind of like the Poughkeepsie, Albany, Rochester, Utica, Ithaca, all along like the 90. We also had access to Canada, which was hugely influential for me personally. I don't know about Daryl, and I don't even know how much it really got into the hardcore scene in Buffalo, except for I could think of a band called Hourglass I loved that was heavily influenced by Canadian hardcore, which was a whole different kind of sound. I mean, there was melodies, there was a chorus, maybe, it was really emotional and not so angry. And I think that once I found the balance between those two, I was like locked out. I was like, okay, this is a great place to live because it's all around me right now.
Yeah, the Toronto influence was great. I mean, that's how I linked. I mean, through Snapcase, that's how we linked up with Chokehold, and they would do great when they would come to Connecticut. And that was another band that brought different ideas and different lyrical style than, say, maybe more similar to Earth Crisis than Snapcase or than some of the other bands at that time. But you're right. It was also a different sound. Like Snapcase and Earth Crisis and Chokehold, they all had that heavy, moshy, chuggy stuff. But then Snapcase with the harmonics and some of the melody and some of the. Would you say it was kind of like a Helmet influence, Daryl? Would you say what kind of separated you from that? Because it was different from Cleveland, it was different from Toronto, it was different from Syracuse. But you kind of had your own sound, your own stamp. I mean,
when we first started the band, I would say that, we looked up to all the New York hardcore bands. That was initial. But then, as we started to kind of develop our sound a little bit more, I think bands like Verbal Assault became more important to us. Eventually bands like Fugazi. But then, of course, you can't deny Quicksand and Helmet. When that stuff came out on the scene, we just couldn't stop listening to that stuff. And it's pretty evident in our sound. For sure. Yeah. And I always felt like you guys took that kind of Helmet influence and just expanded on it. Because I get hate for this a lot, but I only like one or two Helmet songs. But I like 15, 20 Snapcase songs. Sometimes a band, and I think, Keith, when you were coming into it, what your lyrical and vocal style brought to it, and the whole Every Time I Die sound, it was more I felt like influenced by Converge and some of the more discordant types of bands, which was cool. It wasn't it didn't sound like Buried Alive, it didn't sound like Snapcase. Sure, there was heavy moshy parts mixed in there, but you guys had obviously a different vocal style and a different arrangement as well. But did when you were first coming in there, and I remember you guys sent me the demo, I forget, do you remember what it said? It was like for fans of, how everybody has their
yeah. Dude, I don't even remember.
I got it here somewhere.
Oh no, we'll find it, upload it later.
Because our thing was we would put for fans of, Agnostic Front, Cro-Mags, Integrity, Earth Crisis, Snapcase. We would just put anybody, anybody who was bigger, we would go, we want to.
Well, that was the original hashtag. You couldn't hashtag it at that point. You just had to put phrases or band names that would catch someone's eye and be like, oh, okay, I'll check it out. But I'm sure we said Deftones and Slayer because.
But what was the band that you saw live that you thought, okay, I can incorporate some of this and put my own style on it?
I think it was Deftones, and I honestly, and I feel like it was Deftones. Mainly what sold me on them was they had to stop and restart a song, and Chino just handled it so cool. And I was like, I had never seen that happen before, but then let alone to make the audience laugh and play it off and kind of joke with the guys. I was like, that's a front man. Okay. That's what a front man does. I've seen it with my own two eyes. That's what I want to be, so that really started it for me. But other than that, Daryl?
Hey everybody, quick interruption, let you know today's episode is brought to you by Upstate Records NY. That's right, Upstate Records New York, frontmanship.com. Very easy. Link is always in the show notes. Check out releases from Blackest Dawn, Blood Clot. I mean, they got Brick by Brick. They got Concrete. So much good music over there. When you go on over to upstaterecordsny.com and use the promo code JASTA10, you'll see they got vinyl, they got t-shirts, they got merch, they got CDs. Follow them on Instagram. Check out their Bandcamp page. I love Bandcamp. I'm all about that Bandcamp action. Head on over to upstaterecords.bandcamp.com. Support the scene, support the underground, and support Upstate Records. Use the code JASTA10. And while I have you, make sure you go and you get your tickets to Milwaukee Metal Fest. That's right, Milwaukee Metal Fest is back May 15th through the 18th. We got Black Label Society. We got Devin Townsend. We got Down. We got Paradise Lost. Wolves in the Throne Room. Exodus with Rob Dukes back in the lineup. Sunday's headliners are Guar and Arch Enemy. And we have Dillinger Escape Plan. And we have new additions like Revocation of Soul for Necrogoblicon, and so many more. Get your tickets at therave.com/metalfest. Now back to the show.
I'm sorry?
And what about you? Ever train wreck? So I love that the Deftones train wreck was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, have I ever? Oh my God! I'm way more. I don't handle that as well as did, as you just described. I start getting anxious and start kind of like tapping my foot around the guys in the band, trying to tune their strings. Like let's go.
I know. I've always like thought of if I had something to do during that time, because I can't tune, but I know they have to. But I don't want to like do a bit. I'm not in the mood sometimes. But like if you had something to do, like a yo-yo or something, like you could just whip it out, just entertain yourself while they're doing it.
No, so, you have those good speaking days and then you have those bad speaking days. And sometimes it just comes out and you're like, wow, hey, that was great. How did I do that? And then other days you're like, why did I say that stupid shit?
Yeah.
Didn't Deftones open for Snapcase at one point?
No, I wouldn't go that far. We actually met them on the Buffalo Warped Tour. And,
okay.
We met them either, I can't remember if this was before that or not, but we were on tour and we played the downstairs of a club in Salt Lake. And they were playing upstairs with Bad Brains. And I was like, it was crazy. And we were so excited. And I remember we got like a Deftones demo for their first album at that show. So that must have been before. And then we met them again at the Warped Tour.
Okay, was that show? This is so weird and creepy. Was there were you guys playing volleyball in the back of that show before the show?
That sounds kind of like Snapcase, but I don't know. It could be.
My only encounter with Snapcase, honestly, like even to this day, really, because I've never actually like sat down and had a conversation with any of you guys. But one time I was
that blows my mind. By the way,
I know, me too. But I love it. I just wasn't. Look, I just feel like I wasn't ready as a human being to have a conversation with you guys yet. Because I'm like, everything I do is because of you pretty much. So I have to like really, I've had to prepare my entire life for a conversation like that. So, but so where was I? What I was going to say was I talking
back
about?
there and you had your demo in hand and you're like, do I interrupt the volleyball game?
I didn't even. I was just hanging around like, oh, those are Snapcase guys and they're playing volleyball. And then I think it was John asked me if I wanted to play. And then it became like a Kenny Loggins fucking video. I'm like playing volleyball with Snapcase. I was just a fan. I was a little kid, so I'll always remember that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And who won? Was it Shirts Skins? Like what? Tell us more. Like what?
In my mind, we won. In my mind, everyone was shirtless, greased up, high-fiving, winning. No, I was like.
Now, Daryl, is it true you turned down the Deftones tour?
No, there's absolutely not. We toured with we were the opening band on Quicksand Deftones.
Okay. So was it Slipknot?
I don't think so. I mean, we wouldn't have turned something like that down unless we just couldn't do it.
Okay.
There might have been a time where I felt like we've always been a bit of a conflicted band, right? Because you come from hardcore and you guys both know how the hardcore scene can be. You love it and it's like the best thing ever. But at the same time, it's probably the most judgmental scene in the world, right?
Mhm.
So, you know, for us, what we did in the 90s and then coming into like the later part of the 90s, I think we started getting connected and getting offered a lot of new metal type stuff. And I think there was probably a point where we're like, I don't know if this is a good move for us or not. Because
Mhm.
even when we were doing a lot of Warped Tour stuff, I think we were starting to lose our sound a bit from like progression and starting to like cater towards a new crowd, which I'm not really proud of. And I'm not, I feel like we should have kind of stayed or gone heavier than we were. So if we turned anything down, it might have been because of that. But I listened to your interview recently with Jacoby from Papa Roach, and we toured with Papa Roach too, and it was interesting because that tour was cool because those guys were like awesome dudes, and they were like really cool with us. And again, we met them on the Warped Tour, but their crowd didn't give a shit about us at all, and our crowd wasn't
Really?
coming, and our crowd wasn't really coming to the show, so it kind of wasn't like, yeah, it wasn't I don't know, we didn't see it, you know.
Huh. See, that's interesting to me because I swear when I first toured the States and saw the new metal thing happening, every one of those bands would credit Snapcase. Like literally everyone. And you know who else those bands really liked was VOD, but they liked Imprint. They didn't like like by that point I was out. Like on Imprint I was out. But now I can go back and I really enjoy some of the later VOD, like some stuff on Imprint, and I love that song Southbound. I'm always putting that on. But at that time, it was interesting to see because both Snapcase and VOD had an influence on that. Maybe I guess you would call it the second wave of the new metal or post-hardcore crossover. But I get what you're saying. It's like the gateway kid might have heard bands on the radio and then they got into Papa Roach and that was like the heaviest they went. So then
Right.
you guys come out and it's like, whoa, this is maybe too much.
Right.
Because there isn't that I guess at that time there wasn't like, how else did a band like Snapcase get to the ears of that fan? It was like you would either have to see an ad or see you open. It wasn't like you were getting on the rock stations unless it was 2 a.m. or something.
Right, right. And even on the Deftones tour, I remember, besides us pissing off the Deftones crew a lot because we weren't professional enough, we learned a lot of lessons on that tour. But yeah, the radio stuff, we were kind of like, it was opening our eyes to that a bit. But I don't know.
Well, it's funny now because I look at, say, like Linkin Park, who was not getting bullied on Ozfest, but definitely wasn't having the best time on Ozfest. But then I would see the numbers every week, and it was like they were the band like where the numbers would go up every week. It was like, wow, they scanned 20,000 this week and 50,000 the next week and 70,000. And I would, and even though there was, hints that it was a put together thing, like this was before we have the normal like industry plant accusations. This was before that. But what I saw was there was a direct link between MTV, TRL, rock radio, and that suburban kid or that kid in Montana or that kid in North Dakota that the hardcore distribution or the hardcore circuit did not get to. And I always thought, was it because those kids felt bullied? Was it because those kids just didn't feel welcome at the show? Like, did the Linkin Park fan go to see Snappy and get like spin kicked in the face? It was like, fuck this, I'm out. I'm going to Linkin. I always wondered that.
That's, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Warped Tour was interesting. Even though I'm not crazy about playing outdoors in the middle of the afternoon, but like, just kind of connecting with all those different bands and seeing where there was crossover, and I mean, you're playing with ska bands and you're playing with kind of like some radio rock bands and, amazing punk bands and, and then, I think for a while we were sort of like the hardcore band. And then I know that Every Time I Die became like the like Warped Tour hardcore band, so like, Warped Tour is definitely a great thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. And then there was the mainstream fans that would show up for Eminem or Katy Perry or Paramore. And sometimes those those artists were gateways. But other times I use that 98, 99 Warped Tour and then the Ozfest 2001, 2002 as a big example, because the Ozfest 2000 and 2001 was prior to like Every Time I Die, God Forbid, Bleeding Through, throwing on all those bands. It was really 2002 where it was like, whoa, we're already on to the next thing, like less new metal, less radio rock. Because but then you had the examples of like Linkin Park and Crazy Town where it didn't matter. As long as you had that big radio hit or that big push from the major label getting the records in all the stores, then you would have success. And and I guess I saw it with Avenged too. For every kid that didn't like Avenged, there was 20 or 30 more who did. But I think it goes to being able to find the right ear and the right eyeball for whatever music you're playing. And that's an art unto itself. But now that I'm thinking about, I want to say 2000, what was the other one Every Time I did with us? Was it 2004?
Four, yeah. I was supposed 2004.
Yeah. So by then it was full heavy. Like there was Lamb of God on there. There was there wasn't really any new metal by that point.
No, there wasn't. There wasn't at all. I mean, there maybe was on some of the other stages, but Slipknot was, I guess, as close to new metal, right?
Right, but they had blast beats and growls and
Oh, don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't think they're new metal, but I think at that time maybe they were being classified as it. But yeah, it was full on hardcore mosh pits.
So let's go to the chat here. As Dallas Boland says, this Buffalo talk is hilarious. I've been on the biggest Goo Goo Dolls kick for the past few years now. Dude, Long Way Down, is that the song? Is that the hit?
Way Down.
That's one of them, yeah. I don't know if that's the hit, but yeah.
So good. But so what was it like seeing them when they were thrash or when they were on Metal Blade? Was it thrash? What was it? Was it punk?
I think it was more punk. But they would do crazy things. Like they would play on the front porch of a house until the police came. And then they wrote a song about that. I think it was Don't Beat My Ass with a Baseball Bat. And then they would change it to Don't Beat My Ass with a Billy Club. And I remember this from when I was really young. And so Robbie, the bass player of the Goo Goo Dolls, Robbie, he worked at the studio where we recorded our first 7-inch, the Comatose. And he was the engineer. He produced our first 7-inch.
Yeah, I had no idea. That's no so way. Cool.
He owns it. Cool. Now he owns that studio. But yeah,
that's his studio. We were Every Time I did 2 records, I think.
Yeah.
No way. And did you talk to him about being signed at that point or any business stuff? Because Comatose 7-inch, do you look at the statements? I mean, you had to have sold 100,000 of those fucking 7.
I really don't. I have no idea. But so I remember when we finished our first contract with Victory, and we were talking to some other labels. And I needed some guidance because we didn't really have like management or anything. And I remember Artie Quitchoff said, "Listen, you gotta talk to Johnny from the Goo Goo Dolls." And I never talked to Johnny, so kind of like Keith was saying, like I'm like, "What the hell? Like, what am I gonna say to Johnny from the Goo Goo Dolls? Like, this is crazy." And he was nothing like I expected. He got right off the bat was like, "They're all fucking pigs. Fuck them.
Yeah.
For every dime you make, they make $1." And he's just like hardcore going off. And I want to say like Frank Sinatra might have like just died or something. And he was like, "I gotta go. Frank Sinatra died." I just remember like a crazy conversation. But yeah.
Yeah, because they were one of those bands that when that thing hit,
they were on Metal Blade.
Yeah, Metal Blade.
And they had a lawsuit for a long time, right? And then they got signed to the major. I forget the exact
we played a show with them, a big show at the Armory in Buffalo.
How was that?
Ooh.
That was when Chris was our singer, when I was playing bass. It was awesome. It was kind of one of those things. Like people were there to see the Goo Goo Dolls, but we played and they were, moshing, jumping around. Maybe it was kind of more bouncing than moshing, but you know what I mean.
Right. I always felt bad for the bass player because the other guy was so handsome. I'm like, but then I was like, wait, should I feel good because he gets the runoff? Like, like if you're the wingman of that singer, you're getting the runoff, right? The ones that,
they're real dudes though. Robbie, the bass player, I actually,
yes,
I just saw him and he's a Buffalo guy and he's still here. And we actually just recorded a cover of a Zero Tolerance song for a comp. And
Oh, sick.
Robbie told Jay Zabricki, the producer, he said, listen, I want to be in there when Snapcase comes in to do this. I want to be part of the gang vocals. He goes, because I recorded Zero Tolerance's demos and I recorded the Snapcase 7-inch. And so this means a lot to me. I want to be in there singing the backups on this song.
Come on.
Yeah,
Did
this
he?
was like a month ago.
Oh, he did? Oh my God. Can you hear him? Because his voice is so distinct. Can you make his out?
No. Not at all.
Okay.
It was like 4 voices, but yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. What was the movie? What was the movie? Was it Twisters or Twister?
Angel something wing. The one that they were in that got him real big.
Yes, that was like
something of Angels. For them. Yeah, where she got hit by a bus. Oh, sorry. If you haven't seen it yet.
When's the statute of limitations for the Twisters?
Yeah, I mean, it was like from 1945.
I gotta get Johnny on the podcast. He was so handsome then. Does he still look like he looked like a doll? Like what? How did they get that name?
Yeah, what is that name about?
Good question. I couldn't answer that. I always thought maybe it was some kind of like they loved the New York Dolls, so maybe they kind of like took what they could. From them.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'll have to try to see.
Somewhere I do have a trading card of the Goo Goo Dolls because MTV made a bunch of like music cards, like it essentially MTV Raps, but for like metal. So I do have a Goo Goo Dolls card it has a Metal Blade logo on it and everything, and there's like factoids on the back about it. I should check and see if it says how they got their name.
Those are worth money, dude. You might have to eBay. Might have to eBay those. Hey, everybody, it's Jamey jumping in here, letting you know today's episode is brought to you by Unbeaten Records. You know Edict, you know Pure Bliss, Cell, and they got new signings like Blood Tithe from Boston or Bruiserweight from Montreal. Both of those last two are going to have stuff out later this year. So bookmark this page, unbeaten.merchnow.com. Use the code unbeaten15 and you will save on all their releases. They got merch, they got vinyl, they got CDs. Unbeaten.merchnow.com. Big thanks to Unbeaten Records and the crew. Check out Cell, The Heavens Hear Nothing. Check out Pure Bliss, Torture Realm. Check it all out. Unbeaten.merchnow.com. Use the promo code unbeaten15. And while I have you, check out martyrstore.net. We got a bunch of stuff like Many Eyes vinyl. Very, very limited amounts left. So hit the site ASAP. Use the code VDAY, VDAY, over at martyrstore.net. And you'll see, maybe you're listening in Australia and you want a Hatebreed meet and greet. Or maybe you're coming to Milwaukee Metal Fest and you want an Exodus meet and greet. We got it all over at martyrstore.net, plus new releases from Many Eyes. And Jasta for All still has some vinyl left if you want that. We got Hatebreed Perseverance shirts and hoodies back in stock. We got it all. Martyrstore.net. Now back to the show.
Yeah.
So originally I wanted to start the show with some Buffalo trivia.
Okay.
Because I thought I was gonna beat both of you guys in Buffalo trivia.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm
blown away by the bands that you know about. So
yeah, I mean, you're like Cliff Clavin over.
Well, it was always like one of those great scenes where I know there's diversity in the scenes now where the bands that'll come out, like if a burgeoning scene is happening, a lot of the bands will be different. And I like that, but I just feel like there was something really unique about New York, New Jersey, Long Island, Buffalo, Boston, Connecticut. None of the bands sounded exactly the same, even if we got pigeonholed for being like that. And Cleveland too. Integrity and Ringworm sound nothing alike. Snapcase, Every Time I Die, very different. Even like Long Island, you look at say someone like VOD or Silent Majority or Glassjaw, who probably Glassjaw is another one. I remember them.
Oh yeah,
they were very influenced by Snapcase. Actually, when they opened for us the first time they played, they covered Korn. And they had like the big pants and the whole thing. And I was like, wow, the big pants are coming back. The big pants had been gone since like 96 or 97.
Yeah.
And then they came back.
Oh yeah.
And now they're
killer band.
Now they're
sure.
back again. Knocked Loose is wearing the big pants now.
Yeah, the kids are. I have a 9-year-old daughter, and everything that she thinks is very cool is what all the generation before her is doing. Like current, you know what I mean? But she finds out about it first, and then it's all over TikTok, and then you see it like spread like wildfire. You know, it's just fucking crazy. So yeah, the big pants are back, and I got word yesterday. Skinny pants are back, so give that 6 months, you'll start seeing skinny pants again.
Dude, when we did Warp Tour, I think it was 98 or 99. Someone Google that. Maybe Michael can Google that. Jinko was on the tour, but they were already passe. Like we were wearing them in 94, 95.
Yeah.
And they were giving them to us. I probably have a box of them somewhere.
A box of old bands.
Of old Jinkos. So all right, so here we're gonna start with a little Buffalo trivia.
Yeah.
What Jim Carrey movie had parts of it filmed in Buffalo?
Oh man, I know this and I can't think of the name of that movie.
Is it Bruce Almighty?
Yeah.
Yes, Keith.
That's it.
All right, Keith won. We're gonna keep score, Daryl. This
Big Jim Carrey.
All right.
Big Jim Carrey fan.
What form of execution was first completed? Was that the word? Is that the term? It was first used in Buffalo.
What is that?
Was it electric shock?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the electric chair.
Yeah, so the Buffalo, the Richardson complex, as it's known here, it was the Buffalo Psych Center. And I think it was like, it's an amazing building, but they had kind of like, you know, like you picture Eddie from Iron Maiden, like with the chains on it and the thing around his neck in the rubber room or whatever, the padded cell. That they had that there, from what I understand. So
yeah.
I guess it didn't go well, and people threw up. Like the guy was burned, he was smoking, it smelled bad. Like it was a botch job.
It was a botch job. Yeah. The whole thing. Okay. Fascinating Buffalo history. If you ever really just want to go down a wormhole, just look at the Pan American Exposition of 1901. What a absolute, like, just insanity it was in Buffalo for that period of time. How many people died, were fucking shots, like how many animals were sacrificed. It's fucking insane. Anyway, back to the electric chair.
What caused that? Was it a trade route, or what's the story behind that?
Yeah, a lot of just the trade routes were all here. There was a lot of talk to make Grand Island, which I'm on now, the UN, like the actual United Nations, which is very strange just because of its location. It's on 2 Great Lakes, you know, fresh water. It's real close to the other 3. You know, so that has its own power source, things like that. So yeah, they were looking at this place for a very long time to make the center of a lot of activity, and then it just shit the bed. Probably because of Love Canal. Coincidentally, if anybody wants to look up the history of Love Canal, that'll tell you a lot about it. Yeah. Toxic waste buried near Niagara Falls to this day.
Oh my God. I could see that. Actually, you know what's funny is I was at Toad's place years and years and years ago. And I was there doing the podcast, I think, and it was with I was there to do it with 2 bands. I think Devil Driver and I was there with All That Remains. And I go down to the dressing room, and Phil's got this thing plugged in, and I go, "What the fuck is that?" He goes, "I'm mining Bitcoin." And I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, it's a very slow process, but I'm mining." He had a Bitcoin machine. He was this is like 10 years ago, 12 years.
Yeah.
Or 8 years, maybe 7 or 8 years, because I just started the podcast. Dude, so then I go to Buffalo maybe a year or 2, and he goes, "Yeah, I don't know how profitable it'll be, because you know you need a lot of power to mine this stuff, and you know it's got to be, the juice got to be worth the squeeze. You don't want to have all these power bills. That's why I do it on the road where I can plug it in and I'm not paying." I'm like, "Well, that's genius. So this stuff's going to be worth money." And at the time I bought, which I ended up selling, I sold it too early. I think I bought the Bitcoin for like when it was at 4,000.
Yeah.
And I sold it when it was at like 9,000. I was like, why? but I made $5,000, so I was like, fuck it. But so then I go to Niagara Falls and I'm talking to the guy at Niagara Falls and I'm like, yo, you're blowing it, man. He goes, what do you mean? I go, you got to fucking make this thing power some Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Niagara Falls. You could have had you could have been the richest state in the
Dude,
union.
it's true. That's absolutely right. Because the thing about the Niagara Falls is we're only using when you go to see it, it's only using 20% because they've shut the rest off to divert it to make power. So they just need to pull all those fucking barriers down, let the whole thing power Bitcoin.
And just fucking run it into those machines.
Yeah.
Get them going and fucking start printing those Bitcoins. All right. Back to the okay, so back to the which song inspired by something Buffalo related was then sampled by Eminem? And I can share the audio, I think, if you need a hint. How do I share the audio, Mike?
Related.
Sampled by Eminem.
Is it the audio of Scott Norwood's Super Bowl kick going wide right?
Yeah, I was gonna guess something Buffalo Bills, but
if I play the audio, how do I share? It's Malcolm McLaren, Buffalo Gals. Do you remember
Buffalo Gals. Oh, okay. That's from yeah. It's a Wonderful Life. They sing that song.
Buffalo Gals, round the outside, round the outside.
Oh yeah, okay. That's I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that was a Buffalo thing.
These Buffalo Gals, they made a real lasting impact on Malcolm McLaren.
I knew more about the Mary Jane girls than the Buffalo Gals.
Tell us about that.
No, that was Rick James. Rick James is from Buffalo. That was his group. He had the Mary Jane girls. That was his side group.
That's right. And so I remember seeing him on I think it was Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous or one of those shows where he had a pool and he had his mom living there.
Right.
It sounds awful.
The Rick James documentary is awesome. There's some good Buffalo stuff in there too. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, also the new OJ documentary.
I didn't see that yet.
There's a lot of new stuff in it. There's so many people that should have testified originally. It's gonna baffle your mind how bad. Do
not bring Leslie Nielsen into it. Do not say that all his Naked Gun co-stars should have testified, because Leslie Nielsen is a saint. And I just watched 33 1/3 the other day too. It's awesome.
Yes, shout out to Leslie Nielsen. So good. Such a great dude. So if you thought Buffalo was a hard city for legalizing and testing out the electric chair, what was its nickname from the 1980s when locals had to endure a lot of bad news? Do you remember the nickname?
Oh.
Daryl?
No, I don't know.
It was called the City of No Illusions. I was like, yo, put that on a shirt.
That's a cool name.
That's hard. The City of No Illusions stems from
this is the city of nothing but fucking illusions. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Do you know the name of the longest running foot race in America that started in Buffalo in 1896?
Turkey Trot.
Yes.
Yes. I've run in the Turkey Trot. And yeah, that's a big one.
The Turkey Trot started in Buffalo?
Yes.
My mind is fucking blown right now. No way.
Yes.
That's so awesome. Buffalo is so cool.
Did you ever know
cool shit about it?
It really is. Did you ever know anyone that lived on Delaware Ave?
Yeah.
And do you know the nickname of Delaware Ave?
No.
Millionaires Row
Yes, Daryl is gonna come back and win right now.
Nice.
Buffalo trivia.
Dude. Yeah, there's that strip of Millionaires Row on Delaware is just, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. The architecture in Buffalo. Daryl, do you know the name of the Frank Lloyd Wright house that is kind of in Bidwell Park that's not occupied? It's rumor has it was like a dentist's office.
Yeah, it's on Bird Avenue.
Yeah. Bird.
I don't know what they call it, but no,
Okay.
that is kind of like a little hidden secret, that house.
Yeah, dude. Frank Lloyd Wright, like the architect of architects, has a bunch of houses all over Buffalo, but one is just sitting unoccupied in the middle of this beautiful park that you could just kind of like go up and look at and look in the windows of. It's crazy.
Yeah, Buffalo's only second to Chicago as far as the most Frank Lloyd Wright buildings. So you beat me to that one.
Oh, nice.
What about do you remember the years that the Bills lost the Super Bowl? Sorry to bring this up.
91, 92, 93, 94.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, worst 4 years of my fucking life. The worst. I wish there was a way to measure and calculate this. The damage that those 4 losses did to the psyche of Buffalo, New York is beyond understanding. I think it ruined us as a city permanently. Until we win the Super Bowl, we cannot turn this around. It's in our DNA. We're losers. We're hopeless. And we need a win.
Lovable losers.
Yeah, I guess. To who? Who loves it anymore? It's getting old.
But also motherfuckers cheated. So
yeah, I know.
This recent one, come on. I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack if I even read this up.
Don't get me started on that. Jeez.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about how fucking Taylor Swift is the reason that the refs called the game for the Chiefs, because it is, because she's gonna bring the ratings to the Super Bowl. That's just a fucking fact. The Bills didn't stand a chance.
You know what possibly could have caused some depression in Buffalo as well was that there was a state law that passed a $25 fine that you could be issued for flirting in public in Buffalo.
Yeah,
did you know about this?
Really?
Did you hear about that?
No.
You got some. Also, you have over 50 art galleries in Buffalo.
Really?
Yeah, and President Theodore Roosevelt was sworn into office in Buffalo following the shooting and subsequent death of President William McKinley. Did you know that?
At the Pan American Exposition.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So the Wilcox Mansion, that's now a museum.
Yes.
And that's where the inauguration happened, right?
Yeah, he walked from where he was downtown, or like uptown by the museums. He walked that whole street, I guess, down by himself to the Wilcox Mansion, and then got inaugurated there. You used to be able to go in and like stand there, but I don't think you can do that anymore.
Okay. So for Saturday's show, and everybody, hopefully we'll get this out late Thursday, early Friday, but if anyone is traveling into Buffalo to see some Frank Lloyd Wright buildings and to see Keith and the Many Eyes boys and Daryl and Snapcase, is there another spot besides Anchor Bar that they should stop at? And is Anchor Bar the true original home of the Buffalo Wing, or is there like is there like the Exhorter version? You know how there's Pantera and then there's Exhorter?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Anchor Bar Pantera. Anchor Bar's Pantera, and then is there like the, you know what I mean? And I love them both, you know?
Yeah. Daryl, what do you think? Are you what kind of guy are you?
You mean like as far as the Pantera question, or as far as what?
No, the chicken wing. The chicken wing.
The wings.
So I don't eat chicken wings, so I can't answer that question.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
But you never heard any.
People swear by Barville in East Aurora, so.
That's true. I've never had that. I will say this for Anchor Bar. It was just for people listening. It was the original. Like they actually did come from there. Also, a few years ago, one of the cooks was working, and a man came in and shot him. And they didn't close down, and they just kept cooking. So that's the kind of attitude they got at Anchor Bar. No illusions.
That's hard. The city of no illusions.
No illusions. Our cooks are dead. We accept that.
You guys have to do a split shirt. Like, can we get a last minute print job done with the fucking Many Eyes Snapcase split shirt with the city of no illusions underneath it? I mean, that's hard.
You know what else? It is hard. And there's other it was also called the Rainbow City, and like right up top where the kind of where he got shot was a building called the Temple of Music. So
Really?
yeah, and if you look it up, it's really beautiful. And yeah, there was like a whole bunch of cool stuff. Like we were the first city to have powered our street lamps with electricity. I mean, it's just just weird shit that you don't know about that Tesla was doing by Niagara Falls, powering, Buffalo. It's insane. So
We're
there's a
gonna
lot of
do
cool
it. We're gonna do another episode where we go back and read all that World's Fair shit, because
Yes.
the World's Fair shit is bonkers.
I'm telling you, man, it cursed Buffalo. I really feel like that cursed Buffalo, and everything just compounded over the century. That's how I feel. It began there. That's my official word.
Yeah, I think so too. I bet you there was a great fire, and
Yeah.
then the city was built on top of another city. You probably have a city on top of a city there.
It was everywhere.
But Anchor Bar really does get the credit, because we have Louis Lunch in New Haven, which they fight over who invented the hamburger or the first whatever. But there isn't like some guy was like, no, it was called like the Tonawanda Tail before the Buffalo Wing or something. Like there wasn't like another guy that
I
had
don't think so. I don't think
Okay.
so. I think it's undisputed. I think we can at least agree on that. Yeah.
I don't know if this was true, but one of the first weird facts that I looked up for Buffalo was that body hugging clothing such as yoga pants were at one point illegal.
What? Well, when you see the people that wear them, you'd want them illegal too.
Have either of you walked the Peace Bridge and entered the country like that?
No.
You have?
Yeah, well, I rode my bike across it. And in fact, pre 9/11, I rode my bike into Canada, and on my way back, I remember I got separated from my friends that I was with, so I came across by myself. And when I crossed the bridge and I got to customs in America, the line where you would kind of like the pedestrian line was super long, and I got impatient. I just got on my bike and kept going, so I never checked in at customs.
So you entered illegally.
Basically, I came back illegally. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. See, I think I might have done the same thing once through the woods in Maine.
Did I really?
Crazy. With like a couple cases of merch too.
Allegedly. No. It's all jokes. It's all jokes. Okay. Before we get out of here, and guys, thank you so much for the time, and everybody make sure you go get your tickets to Town Ballroom. And if not,
I want to mention the other bands on that show, by the way. We have
let's give them a shout out.
Yeah, Buffalo band Do Crime, and then coming from California, Barbarians of California, which is an awesome band, and I get to participate on that album. So they're playing also. So I'm pretty
great.
excited.
So Daryl, Keith and I were collaborating on this Many Eyes project. I was executive producer, and they're one of the flagship bands on the label.
Killer
so
album, by the way.
Thank you.
A lot.
Should Keith sign, like if I make Keith A&R, you got any bands that he should sign to Perseverance Media Group, which is also now is Stillborn, and should we bring back Stillborn Fest and do one in Buffalo this December, and we'll all play Town Ballroom House Band?
Wow. I don't know. These are good ideas. I like it.
Yeah,
I have a band off the tip of my tongue right now, though.
Any unsigned bands you want to put in the comments when this goes up on YouTube, or you just hit us up at Jasta Show at Gmail. But yeah, anybody, because what we're gonna do now, we wanna put the ladder back down. Like you put down the ladder for Jasta 14 and Hatebreed, and you Snapcase kicked down doors for bands like Hatebreed and Every Time I Die to walk through. We're very grateful for that. So we want to do that as well, right? And I thought, okay, if we bring back Stillborn Fest and Keith signs a band to Stillborn, I sign a band to Stillborn, or Martyr or whatever, or Perseverance Media Group. I mean, that's kind of like the overarching company. I thought, well, we'd have to bring the festival back, and people want it back. My original reason for I guess ceasing to do it was just it was over the holidays, and it's such a grind. And my daughter, I missed so much of my daughter's life. It was just hard to get out and play shows in that holiday break. But people are clamoring now that I guess their kids are grown up and they can go out again. So yeah, I mean, I guess if it would be, we'd have to decide between Buffalo Town Ballroom, Syracuse, or Rochester, because we do owe Rochester a show because we broke the stage at the Anthrax Black Label show.
Jar. Oh, what about the Armory? I think
that was the place.
I like that spot a lot, but that's just what I'm
in
thinking.
Rochester.
Yeah, we broke the stage. It wasn't our fault. The stage.
Oh no, I'm talking Armory in Buffalo, like where they're.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow,
Could be good.
all right. Well, it was there in a long time.
And I think December is far enough away where if you play in February and then you come back, like that's not too soon to come back to Buffalo, right? If we have Snapcase and if we do Hatebreed, Snapcase, Many Eyes, and some other bands over the Christmas break, or are you against New Year's? Because I was a firm like no fucking shows on New Year's Eve, but now people want that.
We used to play the tune-in on New Year's.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
You do the countdown.
Those New Year's. Remember the Syracuse New Year's shows?
Oh
yes,
yeah, those
New Year's Day.
Those you know why I remember those shows? Because of the fucking flyers. They were so sick. It was just these enormous fonts on one page. Like,
Impact font.
Impact font. Yeah. Yeah.
Shout out to who was that? McKeag.
John McKeag.
Yeah.
Matt
Jamey,
Dunn.
I got a question for you, Jamey. I remember a show, and I thought this was the first show that you played where you changed the name to Hatebreed, and it was Snapcase and Shelter. And Hatebreed. And I don't remember where it was, but I remember this show. And I also remember seeing Hatebreed playing the Mercury Lounge in Buffalo, which was like a small little place, and you guys just tore it up.
Yes. I think it was, because Jasta 14, they ended up getting another singer and I think doing a 7-inch and then I grabbed basically at that point it was Dave and Chris who were in Frostbite, and then Wayne, we met up with Wayne and Larry. But yeah, so it was probably Shelter and you guys. And I think I had to smooth over like somebody who I don't want to say, I think stole Porcell's guitar a couple years earlier. We were going to be like blackballed and we had to like help get the guitar. Like you remember all the old hardcore trauma. Like it was a constant thing. And this is when people would leave answer machine messages. So it's like Ray Cappell's on my answer machine. Like, you better get us that guitar back, dude. I know who took it.
Man.
It was constant. Like, yeah, I should get Ray on the podcast and see. I'd like to hear his side of it now if he remembers any of it. Because we smoothed it over, and then I think I booked a bunch of Shelter shows, and then I want to say I was part of like Youth of Today getting back together, but I think I was already maybe touring at that point and was gonna botch the show, and I think Robbie Red Cheeks helped me out. Also, I was drinking at that time, so my memory's not the great. So,
I want to ask you also, if I can have a second here. I just want to put another thing out there. So in the 90s, as Snapcase and I remember all the 90s bands and victory bands were kind of building up. And I remember at one point being like, wow, I just never expected this to go this far. And I was, it was just like far beyond anything I'd ever expected. And then your expectations grow. And I remember Hatebreed getting big, and I was bitter. And it wasn't like a hate thing. It wasn't like I didn't like Hatebreed. I was just like, I was struggling because Snapcase was starting to decline. So Hatebreed's like taking over the scene. And I'm struggling with this a little bit because like the scene's not going where I kind of was expecting it to go. And like the sound that we were starting to do was like definitely not in favor. And then Every Time I Die, around that time, you guys became the Kings of Buffalo. And so like, that was also like not an easy thing to swallow, like, oh shit, we've kind of been these guys. And so like coming up to this interview today, thinking about all of this stuff and thinking about the three of us and the bands that we've been in, it's like kind of amazing to me, like the progression of the bands, but the bands that we've all influenced, because, you know, I think there were definitely bands that came out after Snapcase that were kind of inspired by Snapcase. There's definitely a bazillion Hatebreed wannabe type bands. I mean, there's so many. I mean, you guys, there's so many bands even still today, like that start, and like that's like the first thing I recognize, you know, like, and I remember Hatebreed going into the studio with Steve Evans and Steve calling me, asking me for some ideas about, like, you know, when you're starting to lose your voice, and I was actually just bugging Jay Zabricki about Keith, like, what does Keith do? Is he, if he's struggling with his voice, because something I struggle with. But anyway, just I don't know. I have a lot of I just like a lot of respect for both of you guys.
Right back at you, man. And you know what?
Yeah,
You
man,
were-
absolutely.
Super hard workers. You're dedicated to your craft. Keith, I don't know how you were doing the band and all those albums and putting out a book. And Jamey, like, God, you've done so many things. It's unbelievable. And like from the music and just God, I was like doing a little bit of research before this, and I was like, I don't even know where to begin with all this stuff and how you get to do all that stuff. But it's amazing.
Well, thank you. Man. No,
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it. And I got to say, you know, you were one of those bands that crossover into the post-hardcore and even some of the screamo and the emo, that was really important that you guys should get more credit for, because there were bands that I came to a crossroads where I had to stop being a booking agent and stop being a promoter and do the band full time. But I noticed when I would book shows for Newfound Glory, Piebald, Juliana Theory, Saves the Day, they were all influenced by Snapcase and like Snapcase. So, and I don't think you get credit on both ends of the spectrum of that enough. And then also, and not just sound wise, but also I think lyrically too, because you know, there was some great songs that I still see people talk about. Like, well, there was one song, forgive me because I'm gonna botch it, but I loved the lyrics. It was something orange.
Oh, Bleeding Orange.
Bleeding Orange. And it wasn't your typical hardcore topic in a sense where it was like you're battling the 9 to 5, which I had heard, you know, but it was so eloquently written, and it was something that, you know, showed a different side. It wasn't just about justice or anger or hate or other thing. You know, it was more of like, I always felt like that style of hardcore, it fell somewhere in between Black Flag and whatever it became, which was Lifetime and AFI. And I'm sure those bands have given you credit, Daryl.
I don't know if they have or not, but honestly, I don't know. This is pretty cool. I really, I appreciate this a lot.
I appreciate what you said too, and it's kind of baffling me because I told Jamey like numerous times that I actually had questions for you, because I've been so like curious to ask you like lyrical questions, because we don't have time for it, and we could talk about it off podcast, so we could get it again. But what Jamey I think was trying to say that it has elements of is like a real like spirituality that like bands didn't have back then. You know, it wasn't about anger; it was about like transcending anger. You know, it wasn't about like, you know, it was really ahead of its time. So, you know, I don't know what your spiritual or religious background is, but like it just comes through the lyrics like a flood, you know. So, and that's what makes them timeless to me, is that there's that spirituality that's a constant struggle that, you know, people are always going to struggle with. It's human. So
yeah, I went off on a tangent, but what I was going to say, Daryl, was Refused. So I remember Refused, like when they were like a Strife type of cover band, almost like it felt very derivative of Strife or Judge type of straight edge kind of hardcore. And then when Snapcase started to blow up, their sound, I really felt sort of morphed some of what Snapcase was doing and then added their own new elements. So, but what's cool is now people are finding out about it. Like if you go to Bleeding Orange on YouTube, you see the people are commenting recently. And it's cool that it's always going to find the ears and the eyes that it needs. And that's why I was so excited when you guys announced this show together. And I couldn't believe that Keith had never even linked up with you at some point.
Like I said,
it was just,
God. I just didn't have I didn't have the perspective I had, and I realize now it's because I was, drinking. I had to be sober for a very long time to understand why certain things mean certain things to me, and always have. So now I feel like I could have a conversation, which is good.
Yeah, and back then I think we felt more of like there was one point where I know like integrity, people would say, oh, Hatebreed is like an integrity copy type of band or whatever. And I had heard, integrity wasn't like happy for our success or whatever. I never heard that about Snapcase. And Earth Crisis, I thought we were more in line with. Like I thought we were more sounding like kind of what they were doing. And they had toured with Sepultura and toured with metal bands, and all I would do is go, okay, you have to just expand the sound a little bit or expand the lyrics to not alienate those metal fans. And I think really that was the vegan straight edge thing was a little, I think, just too much for those like Pantera Slayer dudes. They didn't want to be preached to, but in the end they were right. I said like, if you look outside right now, I just saw someone literally who was like 300 pounds. Every time I see someone, I go, you should have had Earth Crisis. They were right. I mean, you got diabetes, you should have had Earth Crisis. I mean,
I remember when like everything was like the country like politically was being divided, and everyone's like, no, you just got to accept both sides. I'm like, have you never listened to Earth Crisis? No, you don't. There's an evil side and there's a good side. Like, you don't have to listen to Cancer. Cancer's evil. You just know that, it's pretty eloquently stated in any Earth Crisis song if you'd like to listen to it.
But I love seeing the people finding out now, though, about Snapcase and Earth Crisis and Integrity, and seeing the shirts and seeing the kids, buying the old Snapcase shirt off eBay for $200, and they're like 17-year-old kids, and they're just finding about it now. And it just and so it just goes to show any of this stuff is gonna there's always a chance for it to have that like refused moment, or that at the gates moment, or that it has to find the audience, which is nice to see, because like I said, you guys obviously paved the way for so many of us, and we appreciate it. And everybody go get your tickets. Town Ballroom, Saturday, February 8th. And then who knows, maybe Stillborn Fest 2025. I don't know if I can do New Year's, but
why not do it why not in the summer when people have time to travel and like to get away?
It's too hard with Europe, and now I gotta fucking go see. I gotta fly and see the last Black Sabbath show now. Did you see that?
No, but boy,
what a burden.
Birmingham with Bill Ward.
Whoa.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
Original lineup. They all have. Don't jinx it. Knock on wood. They all have to survive till July 5th. And do this show, and it's like Ozzy and Black Sabbath, last show ever, Birmingham. Get your tickets, book your flights. I already booked my hotel and already booked my flight. So
amazing.
So I'll be doing podcasts there.
All right.
But yeah, I don't know.
If you do a Buffalo thing, you gotta just, Jamey, you gotta just reach out to Scott Vogel, because I wish I could say I was in tune with the scene like he is, but I'm not. He is the godfather of Buffalo hardcore. He's in tune with all the young bands.
Yeah,
he's definitely the one to talk to. 100%.
Yeah. I like that idea, of course. And I had
Terror or Buried Alive or something to play it.
Yes. Yeah. And we'll get Earth Crisis. We'll get Earth Crisis to come up. I had a Vogel. I had an idea for a Vogel shirt I was gonna say on this show too, that I gotta give to Vogel. But you know what? Here, when you guys do your split shirt, it's just an electric chair with like a guy melting in it, and it says "The City of No Illusion."
I love it.
Awesome.
I love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. And Daryl, whenever you guys get new music or something to promote, you're always welcome to come back on. And everybody go see Keith with, I know I'm going to forget the other band, Keith, but I know it's Amity Affliction, because big shout out to my dudes, Amity Affliction, Australian, great band, great dudes.
Hail the Sun.
Hail the Sun.
Yes. Yeah.
They're on the come up.
They are. Yeah. Yeah. It's so cool to see different scenes. I'm seeing like a lot of different scenes with Many Eyes, just the shows we're playing. That whole scene is something I really didn't even know existed. It's a really cool, like very technical. It's like a prog rock scene, but it's kind of like a reminds me of when I was younger. It felt very like enthusiastic.
Yeah, genty, metalcore
Yeah.
adjacent.
Yeah. But the
Very
kids are
cool.
young. I didn't expect that. So yeah, either way, come on out. It'll be fun.
Yeah, starting. I think the first show's in San Diego.
Mhm.
Maybe we'll do another podcast. We'll just do all San Diego trivia.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. And thanks to everybody who joined us on Patreon. I probably should have got to more of your questions before we got out of here. Jared Dewey says, Judy's Lounge in Niagara has the best wings. No debate. Is this true?
Really? I don't know. I'll check it out. Judy's Lounge. I don't know.
I like the name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
oh my gosh. My wife and I just found this this hidden Polish restaurant, like authentic Polish food in Niagara Falls, and it's like in a really bad neighborhood, but then all of a sudden it's like this oasis of Polish, relics and culture. It's awesome. It's called like the Polska House, if anybody's listening. I think that's the name. Yeah.
Pierogies all day.
Oh, amazing pierogies. Yep.
Could you imagine the look you would get if you went in there and ordered a gluten-free pierogi? Would they kill you? Would they stab you?
Oh, yeah. The Polish mobs there on deck.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Just a quick little outro. Thanking you for listening today. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, because we're going to do a big contest and a big giveaway when we hit 30,000 subs on YouTube. So if you like today's show with Keith Buckley and Daryl Taberski, please leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment. Even if it's just one emoji, leave that comment for us so we know you're out there. And make sure you get your tickets to February 8th at the Town Ballroom with Many Eyes and Snapcase. And also support our sponsors, unbeaten.merchnow.com. Use the promo code unbeaten15. Check out bands like Cell, Edict, and of course, Pure Bliss. Also check out Upstate New York Records. They got bands like Brick by Brick, Fury of Five, Concrete, and more. Use the code JASTA10 over at upstateny.com or just check out upstate.bandcamp.com. And of course, big thank you to indiemerchstore.com. And the promo code, as always, is JASTA10. Make sure you go pre-order all the new heavy shit they got. I mean, the pre-orders are over there are crazy. They got the new Cradle of Filth. They got a ton of stuff at indiemerchstore.com. Use the promo code JASTA10. And last but certainly not least, blastbeatsvinyl.com. I love me some blastbeatsvinyl.com. They are an independent, family-owned, online extreme metal distro out of New Jersey. They import from top European labels so you can dodge all those brutal $40 shipping fees. And they got big names to the deep underground, bro. You want some deep cuts? You go to blastbeatsvinyl.com. That includes limited color runs and exclusives. Just use that code JASTA10 at checkout so they know the Jasta Show listeners are moving the needle. All right, everybody. Get out there, slay the day, keep the PMA, drink your coffee, do your push-ups, listen to fucking Necrot. And I'll be back with Brandon from Atreyu and Randy from Lamb of God. Bye-bye. Executive producers, AJ Lewis, John Hankus, Garrett Keeping, Nick Torito, JJ Hernandez, Jason Jarvis, Chris Larice, Larry Tooley, Nick Fowler, Daniel Bird, Adam Mecklenburg, Dallas Boland, Kyle Marg, Morgan Costner, Dominique Zimmer, Kenneth Moore, Benjamin Lee, Jake Olszewski, Mark Tagg, Niall Scholar, Kathy D'Ambrosio, Justin Stephen, Dan Sullivan, Jack Flanders, Mark Loikitz, Fernando Somoza, Andy Wilson, Jeffrey Kewen, Brian Underkoffler, Jay Liberston, Zachary Liberston, Katie Day, The Maniac Diehard, Robert Pushaw, Jason Duran, Steve Deterting, Dan Ryan, Ethan Assault, Alex Queller, Emma Horgan, Clint Smith, Mike Horgan, Chad Longworth, Mark Horror-Amenta, Chris Winchester, Anthony Luzzi, Nathan Rex Madrid, Samuel Angeli, Chris Shea, Jacob Arensberg, Chad Green, Matthew Yankowskis, Jamie Kutcher, Stephen Helm, Andy, Jared DeWeese, Ryan Levson, Mike Murray, Jonathan Mettis.